up next here on FS1. Let's head over to Colin Cowherd. Colin, what's on the show today?
All right, all sorts of strange things happening with stars in the NFL, with Drew Brees and with Big Ben. Got to talk about those coming up next.
Thanks, Colin. The Magic beat the Timberwolves last night, but the most interesting part of the game was this fight between Aaron Aflalo and Nemanja Bjelica. In the second quarter, Aflalo took a big swing, and both players were ejected. So, Shannon, how many games should Aaron be suspended?
Skip, in 02, I know you remember this. Shaquille O'Neal took a huge swing at Brad Miller. Cost him 3 games. He should get this. But here's the problem that this commissioner and the NBA is running into now. They just suspended Serge Ibaka and Johnson of the Miami Heat 1 game for punches thrown.
Yep.
Aflalo needs to go. He got to sit down, Skip. They got to get this under control, Skip.
Yep.
Whether it's real or not, they have a perception problem that they're reverting back to the 80s and 90s. Be it real or imagined, but this is the perception, and they got to get this under control. So Commissioner Silver and Ms. Roberts, who's head of the PA, y'all got to sit down and get this. But he's got to go sit down for a minimum of 3 games.
Well, I think they might go 5 just because the look of it was so bad.
Yeah, I got
like 5. Flashback to the malice at the palace, right? But I will say this on Aaron Aflalo's behalf. I don't believe he intended to land that punch. I just don't. I think he threw a big old roundhouse up in the air, just like a shot across the bow. If he'd meant to hit him in the jaw, I believe he would have hit him in the jaw.
Think about this. You think Shaq was trying to hit Brad Miller?
I don't know.
He just Skip. He got 3 games from that. He got 3 years if he'd hit him. Aaron Aflalo is getting somewhere between 3 and 5 games.
Yeah, I'd say 5 because this is the first bad look that they've had in a long, long time, and there's been too much of this.
I'm with you, Skip. He kind of advertised that.
He was tall, Skip. He missed him.
That's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern. Right now, Colin Cowherd tells you what the Saints should do with Drew Brees. The Herd starts now.
This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, we're live in Los Angeles. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Christine Leahy, of course, joining alongside today as we are at a Wednesday. That's right. Today is a Wednesday. I'm good with Wednesday.
I'm shocked that in fact it's Wednesday. Why?
Try hard to keep up with these days. Peter King joining us in 1 hour live from New York. All sorts of stuff happening in the NFL. Okay, I got to start the show with something that drives me nuts. I believe, especially if you're a pro athlete. Now, I can do this for a long time. Christine can do this for a long time. Doctors can be doctors for a long time. Teachers can be teachers for a long time. But athletes can't be. And so I think when you're in a profession where there are certain limitations on the length of it, take advantage when you rarely have leverage. I don't think that's being greedy. That's what the owner of the company does. You know how many bosses I've had leave me for better jobs? You know how many owners I've worked for who have sold things or bought things for better opportunities? I can do this for a long time, but a pro athlete, and let's talk NFL here, in a sport that's got regulated violence, there are limitations to how long you can play. So when you have leverage, I would strongly encourage you to use it. And yet, quarterbacks never do in the NFL. Drew Brees, right now, first, second, third best quarterback in the league, says he doesn't plan on testing free agency. Now, he can't be franchised. He doesn't plan on testing free agency. Drew, have you seen Jacksonville's defense? Have you seen Denver's defense? Have you seen Minnesota's defense? They don't have a quarterback for next year yet. If Drew Brees hit the market, Minnesota with Drew Brees, next year's Super Bowl is set from the NFC. Jacksonville, Denver, Arizona would all make bids. They would make bids. I mean, Minnesota's got Case Keenum, often hurt Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, and some four-string guy. You don't think they'd make a bid on Drew Brees? Think about this. In America's number one sport, NFL, the number one position, quarterback, and Drew Brees is the third best at it on the planet. There are days he's the best. No, I'm not going to test the free agent market. Colin, he loves New Orleans. He likes Super Bowls more, I assure you. Remember in 2010 when Peyton Manning was a free agent, really hit the market. I mean, Pete Carroll drove to the airport, and Jim Harbaugh flew cross country, and he was coming off a 4th surgery. Brees is healthy. Just came off one of his best games ever. I don't get it. Let me give you 3 reasons why Drew Brees should strongly consider hitting the market. Number 1, New Orleans had 3 losing seasons before this season. This is not New England. This is not Green Bay. This is not even Pittsburgh. They are hot and cold. They're now hot. It won't last. Number 2 is Drew Brees lost Sunday in large part to a coaching staff mistake where they called a timeout late and didn't tell a rookie safety, hey, kid, wrap him up. Don't go for the pick. Don't go for the interception. Yeah, this play was off a timeout. That's not good coaching. They're at least as culpable as the kid. And number 3, Sean Payton is not aging terribly well. There have been multiple incidents this year, a throat slash, mocking the Minnesota crowd. He has gotten the choke sign at Devontae Freeman, yelling at Dirk Cutter, penalty at the end of the first game against Atlanta. I'm not going to dive too deep into this. It's juvenile. If a high school football coach did that, the principal would call him in on Monday or the athletic director and say, hey, coach, scale back. If a college coach did a skull chant, a choke sign, yelled at an opposing coach, had a penalty at the end of a first game against Atlanta, a college athletic director on Monday would say, coach, scale it back. 3, 4 strange, emotionally juvenile incidents with Sean Payton this year. No idea what's going on there. Have my suspicions, but it's time to at least test the market. Okay, this is not New England or Green Bay, where they're in the playoffs every year. They were a mess for 3 years. They've had 5 defensive coordinators in 11 years. Your coach has gone zany. And that coaching staff did a poor job of supporting you on Sunday late in the game. It is absolutely remarkable to me that a smart guy like Drew Brees, who I'm sure is a really smart agent, could test the market, and he's not interested. Hey, man, he's a legend forever in New Orleans. And I'm not saying he doesn't love the city, but he loves Super Bowls more. They all do. You don't get this good without being concerned about yourself, number 1, and your family. And Drew is, and should be. But it is remarkable how a marginal NBA player can hold a franchise hostage, and that a star quarterback who could go to Super Bowls with the right fit at a perfect exit point won't even consider free agency? 4 words. I don't get it. Call in loyalty. Oh, stuff it. It's not about loyalty. I mean, you're still falling for that stuff? All right, let me segue to this. So, if you were friends with somebody and they were going through, let's say, your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, they were going through a tough spot, that would be the time they'd really need support. I mean, you can forget this, forget that, but if you were really, really close to somebody in a relationship and they're going through something that's really tough, that's kind of when you support them, right? And you don't have to publicly support them, but you'd at least privately be there for them. Has anybody noticed when Ben Roethlisberger always publicly clobbers Mike Tomlin? So Mike Tomlin had a really bad game Sunday, okay? And you can say whatever you want about Mike Tomlin. I don't think Mike Tomlin thought he had a great game coaching. There were the 4th and 1s. There was the bizarre onside kick. There was the not even being prepared to play for the first hour of football. It's not a good, even if you're an apologist for Mike Tomlin, wasn't his greatest day. Did anybody notice when Big Ben called him out? He didn't call him out after the game because Big Ben knows Mike Tomlin is virtually bulletproof. Big Ben waited, and this rarely happens, for the media nationally and locally and fans to pile on Tomlin. Then Big Ben said, rare opportunity. I can hammer him on a radio show. Listen.
I truly have never said I don't want to run it, and I don't have the freedom to check the quarterback sneak because we don't have that call if we're not in the huddle. I've actually asked Coach Tomlin when we get to like the 2-yard line, 2-point play, to spread the defense out, go empty, and run quarterback draw. I've asked for that.
Yeah.
He laughs at me and says, Ben, maybe in your younger days, not now.
So that
I still ask for those things. I would love the quarterback sneak. I hopefully will get into more of it. It's really, like I said, we can call it in the huddle, but there's no way for me to audible to it without telling guys, hey, quarterback sneak. Like, I hope the defensive line didn't hear us, you know?
I have this sourced. Big Ben is massively frustrated with Mike Tomlin. That was the 7th time he has called out the coaching staff. That was the most direct. It's not that he called out Tomlin. It's when he called him out. On his radio show, after he had read or heard Tomlin under attack. Folks, you just don't see this. You do not see Hall of Fame quarterbacks calling out their head coaches regularly. And why is this happening? Because there's 5 or 6 bulletproof coaches in America. You're not going to get them fired. Saban, Belichick, Coach K. You're not going to get them fired. Tomlin's one of them. And Ben, I've got it sourced, isn't happy. And he saw this as a rare opportunity. He's so frustrated with a lack of discipline to pile on. Look at the 7 times he's called him out. Rare opportunities when the fan base is mad at Tomlin. Isn't that when you'd support a coach you like? He sees him as vulnerable. By the way, limited partners are now pushing for a new coach, also concerned about the team's lack of discipline, which is what Ben is telling those close to him. We're not a group of grown-ups. The Patriots are. Listen, man, if you're into somebody, you support them in crisis. If you're not into somebody, you don't. But if you want them out, you go after them at their most vulnerable point. Ben didn't clobber him after the game when he was the most emotional. My belief, he waited to see Tomlin get buried and piled on. If you think Big Ben and Tomlin are all tight and good, no, they are not. That was clear. He saw it as an opportunity that rarely presents itself with the Rooney family to maybe get something done. Probably told it won't, so I imagine now he'll go back to publicly supporting him. Good to have you in today. There is something happening in America with sports right now, and it's actually happening in America with business. And I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of years. In fact, I've asked your opinion on this because I can't figure it out. And I finally figured it out driving to work this morning. That's coming up next. Peter King in 45 minutes. Does your business have any New Year's resolutions? Here's an important one every business should at least consider. Make your hiring process more efficient and more effective. Listen, companies generally hire at the start of a new year. New budgets, right? Maybe you have October budgets, Christmas budgets. Now it's the new year. Money frees up potentially. Opportunities there. What about ZipRecruiter? You post your job on ZipRecruiter, it hits 100 of the web's leading job boards with a click. And they actively seek the most qualified candidates. That's why 80% of employers who post a gig on ZipRecruiter find a quality candidate in a day. It's a smarter way to hire. Right now, post a job for free on ZipRecruiter. Yep, ZipRecruiter.com/herd. ZipRecruiter.com/HERD. It's the time of the year when people are hiring. That means it's a competitive field. Get the right person. ZipRecruiter.com/HERD.
You know what's going on again at Popeyes? Here's a hint. Need a bigger hint? It's the $5 Bonafide Big Box. 2 pieces of my chicken.